I will live with the desire of the space traveler Kokoro. This is her last speech. When she was in junior high, she encountered a speech. She couldn't do well only with her power. However, thanks to her great senior support, she could come to school and make the best speech ever. She believes this will express her message and change our society. She believes this is Returns favors. So she will enjoy today's stage with gratitude.
Now, we are ready for departure. Please make sure the seatbelt is securely fastened. Let us welcome today's sixth space traveler. The sixth space traveler is Miss Kokoro Yamashita from Keio University. She will deliver her speech under the title of Your Thoughtful Consideration. Your Thoughtful Consideration. So, Ms. Yamashita, please come to the stage and launch your rocket to the frontier.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, timekeepers, and the questioner. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. It was a normal day. I was on the train and standing in front of the door, as always. But suddenly, it all happened. I felt an uncomfortably warm thing touching around my bottom. My body was frozen in the sack because I felt really scared. I tried to ask someone for help, but I couldn't. The only thing I could do was to cry out, "Help me, please," in my mind. On that day, I experienced a molester, chikan in Japanese, which is regarded as one of the sexual crimes. Of course, the central and local governments should immediately deal with sexual crimes by enacting laws and ordinances to punish attackers more severely. However, is that really enough? I believe your action for victims is as necessary as the action of the government because they need your support to reduce their burden. So today, I'd like to insist that you should show your thoughtful consideration after hearing victims' confession. I hope my voice will reach all of you and realize a world where every victim can come out and receive proper support. First of all, I'd like to ask you 2 questions. Ladies and gentlemen, how many women do you think have encountered sexual crimes? According to Cabinet Office, the answer is almost 10%. The number is higher than you thought, isn't it? The second question. Among those who have experienced sexual crimes, how many of them were able to come out? 80%? 50%? No, only 30%. It is quite low, isn't it? As you can see, many incidents of sexual crimes are happening right now, but most of them are overlooked. Why? Why a lot of sexual crimes are being overlooked? The biggest reason is because victims worry about how people would react after hearing the confession of the sexual crime according to the research of Cabinet Office. You may think you are the last person to hurt victims, but you also have the possibility to offend them without noticing. Please imagine, if your child, your girlfriend, or your friend confess that they are exposed to a sexual crime, what would you say? You might give them advice like, you shouldn't wear short skirts, or you shouldn't take the train during the rush hour. However, is your consideration really thoughtful? In my case, when I experienced a molester, I was in a big dilemma. Deep in my mind, I wanted to come out, but it was hard for me because I was frightened of people's reaction after confession. A few days later, I finally decided to come out to my mother with all the courage, expecting her to relieve my anxiety. After coming back home, I said, "Mom, I was molested." "What? Oh my God, you shouldn't wear short skirts, you shouldn't take the train during the rush hour, and you shouldn't..." My mother repeated, and repeated, giving me her thoughtless consideration. At that time, one question came up to my mind. Was it my fault? I felt as if I was blamed, even though I did not do anything wrong. Then, how should we deal with victims' confession? Firstly, I want you to reassure victims by telling that it is not their fault and thank them for the coming out. Next, if you want to give them advice, be careful whether their advice is correct and make sure that it does not hurt them. Actually, many of the criticisms are not even based on the fact. For example, you may assume short skirts encourage sexual crimes. But surprisingly, even if people shorten their skirt, the possibility of encountering sexual crimes doesn't increase, according to the harassment survey by British Japan. So, please do not blame victims based on your assumption. Even if your criticisms are based on the fact, be careful with what you say. For example, it is true that the possibility of sexual crimes decreases if we avoid rush hours. However, if you accuse victims of not avoiding rush hours, they would feel they did something wrong. So, do not forget to tell them, "I know you did nothing wrong, but I want to give you advice because I'm really worried about you and I want to be your help." The point is to show your thoughtful consideration. My friend was the one who gave his thoughtful consideration to me. When I confessed, he said, "Thank you for coming out to me. You might be confused, but let's get over together." He reassured me and said, "I know it is not your fault, but I want you to install this app to protect yourself from a molester." He recommended me an application called DigiPolice, which starts to ring a big alarm when I am molested, and automatically sends an email informing my crisis to people who register their address. Thanks to his thoughtful consideration, I was very relieved and I was able to recover. Like my friend, please show your thoughtful consideration and support them in your way. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to throw away your thoughtless consideration. You may give advice to victims to support them, but let's take a step back to rethink whether it is truly considerate for them. Now, I sincerely help you to help victims overcome sexual crimes by showing your thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
Next is a question and answer session. Mr. Fosca, please.
Thank you for sharing your very personal speech.
Thank you.
My first question is, why do we blame victims? Why do you think we blame victims?
That is because people tend to think giving advice is the best way, so everyone blame victims.
Okay, so in that case, indirectly, you're blaming victims.
Yes.
Next, how can we give correct advice? So if somebody comes out and tells me they were the victim of a sexual crime, what should I do?
Okay. So if you give advice, you should research before giving advice to victims. And according to the research, your advice is correct. You should tell to victims.
Okay, what about though if they come out to me, the moment they come out to me, what should I do? Because I don't have a computer nearby to do any research. What should I do in that situation?
Firstly, you should tell victims. You should make victims reassure, like telling that thank you for coming out, or it is not your fault, like this.
Okay. You said that 70% never come out. Should we encourage them to come out? If so, how? So 70% of women never share that they're a victim. Should we encourage them to share? And if so, how can we do it?
Oh, you said after coming out, what should?
No, before. So 70% of women, 30% come out. 70% don't. Should we encourage those women to come out? How can we do that?
Okay. I once tell the victims to of course there's some people blame victims, but other people should reassure us, should reassure victims, like people listening to my speech. So I want to tell victims, do not hesitate to come out, because there's some people do not blame you, so please come out.
I'm very sorry, but the time has expired.
Thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fosca and Ms.